well. Yeah, I do wear a lot of hats. But, I always try to have fun with work. I do things that I find interesting. If I didn't find do them. So that's my first and foremost. So what I'm doing, it's almost like work is play for me. So I do things where I work with interesting people. I enjoy them. When I'm doing my research and all, I'm doing things that I'm interested in. So it keeps my attention. And I guess just the way to manage that, I think, is I keep my calendar, so I can look at it. I make to-do lists all the time so that I know. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this right here. Here's my one that I just made. And I write it down because that helps me to remember it and to kind of see what I need to do. So I just keep doing that. And that's the way that I manage all those things I do, because otherwise, people ask me to do small tasks. I have to review some things for infrastructure masons. I have big tasks, like I have to finish syllabi for classes and get lectures ready. Tonight I have my podcast, so I'm writing remarks for that, and I have to be on camera in the early evening and be ready and greet our guests. So I just try to write those things down so I don't forget, because sometimes it's easy to forget little details. And I think it's very important, most important, to do what you say you're going to do, or what I call integrity. And that allows you to do that. You're consistent. People can count on you. They know you're going to come through. And if you just do that over and over again, you're going to rise to the top, because people know that you're someone that can be counted on. And that's really the most important thing to be successful, is to be consistent, to keep your word, and to have integrity. I think those things are really important. Well, in that case, I came together with a friend of mine that's a Wall Street tech analyst, and another fellow who works in policy and technology. And I think all of us, and another important quality for success is to be optimistic. I work with the guys that ran Uber, eBay, PayPal, Google. I mean, these are some of the top Microsoft, some of the top executives at the top firms in the world. And the one thing I see in all of these gentlemen and ladies that are incredible, Schneider Electric, I mean, these are global companies, is that they're optimistic and positive. So what we've tried to do, when people were losing hope or with all the complexities and changes, we tried to establish this podcast. It's a salon. It's a private salon where we have a group of people gather every week around a topic. And now we're spinning it out so the public can benefit from these learnings in this Reset Salon podcast. And what we're trying to do is foster positivity, creative solutions, and hope looking forward, so that people don't lose hope. And I think that establishing goals on the horizon is the way to continue to have hope, to be grateful for what you have. It's easy to look at what you don't have, but to be grateful on an everyday basis for the things you do have, your family, your friends, your food on the table, your pet, whatever those little things are, a beautiful day, whatever those things could be, to mindfully be grateful for those things, your health that you have, whatever it is. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to foster positivity and optimism, and to recognize the struggles people are going through and be supportive of others. And if you can help someone, that is a sense of meaning and purpose that adds to your life. And so, that's the other thing. There are things that we can do to help others right now. And that's very important too. And that gives you a good feeling. Yeah, I think that's kind of the beauty of it. And that's why we sort of wanted to spin out our podcast, was we were having conversations with friends. and inviting people that we knew, and to have this small group. We keep it to an hour, and we do this every week. We've done it every week since March, last year, the beginning of our lockdown here. And people got so much out of it. And so it was a way now for us to kind of open the doors to that private moment with friends, to include a wider audience of friends, and that people can be part of it as well. So I think you're right to say that, as people become disconnected, you want to hear voices, and think about what I talked about in our session was the importance of the body. And when you're looking at a glass screen, the body gets erased, and a lot of our senses get erased. So we want to hear those voices. It's our way of connecting. There's a lot of emotion when you hear a voice, when you hear a tone. One of the gals, for example, talked about her experience. We had a lot of social unrest in the United States and a lot of destruction of the cities on top of COVID, so complexifying it more. And this gal was just crying, and she says, "I'm sorry, but you could hear the rage and the grief in her experience." And giving a voice to that lets other people grieve, and it makes it okay that others are going through this. So I think that's a part of it too, is that we're all going through things, and some people are going through it in different ways. There's people that are booming right now, super successful, doing great. There's others that are really struggling. And so really understanding that people are having different experiences right now, and letting that be okay, I think is really the key. And through the podcast, it's one way to do that. I like to write, but to hear the voice is to bring that body, that connection, and that emotional connection back to us. And we really need that more than ever now, I think. Yes. Well, I started my career, I mentioned earlier I have 2 counseling degrees, but when I came to USC, University of Southern California, to talk about and to study the impact of computing on society, they said to me, "What does that have to do with sociology?" I said, "Oh my gosh," because I could see that, it was going to be a huge impact on society, on behavior, on relationship, on families. I was already seeing it in the early stages, and they didn't have any idea. Why would social people want to talk about technology? Like, they didn't understand. But now we see it's probably one of the biggest drivers of behavioral change that humanity has ever known. And so now people understand why we want to understand it. The wave is caught up to where I was and am. And so now people say, "Oh, we got to understand this." So at this point in time, I consult with some of the biggest companies like Google. I've been in there speaking with for example, because people want to understand this intersection now of behavior and technology. And I think it's a huge driver. I think it's going to continue to drive change, and it's going to create some interesting new opportunities and challenges as we globally connect. And that's what I'm thinking about in my next book. What about those people that aren't connected? And what happens to them as everything goes digital? This is continually changing, continually growing. And so we just have to stay with it, and keep listening and looking, and just tuning into the changes that are being driven by new technologies, new apps, new experiences. So I think it's endlessly interesting.